All right, welcome back to Gym Life. We are here tonight. This is one of our special interviews with, well, we've been waiting a while for this guy now. We've been working on getting him for a few weeks, and we've let you guys know that he's coming. His name's Nick O'Hare. He's the 90-kilogram national champion for Strongman. That's United States Strongman. Is that right, Nick? Yeah, so welcome to the podcast today, man. Thanks for joining us. Listen, tons of questions for you today. We had a great chat before the show here, and it just got me moving in a bunch of different directions, especially with the sport and the way the sport's growing in the last few years. And you've been a part of all that. You've been immersed in it. But before we start there, I want to know how it all started for you. And I don't want to talk about Nick back 4 years ago. I want to talk Nick back when he was a young guy in the gym, made his first way to open that door and step foot and start training. What's your background? Where you started at?
I started in high school, you know, the Bigger, Faster, Stronger program that probably everybody did or somebody was a part of in their life. Probably terrible programming, but it was what our school did, so we did that. After school, aside from sports, football, and all that stuff, I got into just like endurance type stuff. I ran every 5K I could get to. And then I started getting into the obstacle course races, and I started running those. Eventually, I ran Tough Mudders, if you're familiar with those, 13-mile obstacle course. I ran 2 of those in one day. And so my endurance base was like really strong. I was super solid there, enjoyed all that stuff, and just kind of kept growing and growing from there. I still always trained, I always lifted in the gym, but it was kind of like I wanted to compete somehow. I've always been a competitor and in something, but it always seems to always fall back to like an individualized thing, like, right? So
right. Yeah.
As much as I did high school sports and all that stuff, I found that I like to depend on myself. And that's where like I ran. Nobody's there to beat me but me. You know, like I got to run. Nobody on my team is holding me back. It's just me. And so from there we went on to I got into CrossFit and I started doing CrossFit and I became a CrossFit trainer. And my wife and I both became trainers and we ran a gym for a while. And I competed at a decent level at that. Got fairly good at that. You know, I continued to build my strength base. And I really enjoyed it. My endurance really helped me. I became more static strength came, and I got into, I take that back. I'm sorry. I started MMA prior to CrossFit. So I never been in a fight in my life. Kind of funny story. Never been in a fight in my life. I'm 22 years old. I had a few drinks. My buddy had the problem, but he was like not a strong guy. I had lifted, I was kind of strong, and he, one of our friends had a problem with him, and I stepped up for him. And after the first initiation, nothing happened. He didn't want to fight. Well, after I had a bunch of drinks later on, like 4 hours later, he's like, let's do it. Well, now I'm super inebriated.
That's the way it happens.
And he basically, we kind of went back and forth. He ended up on top of me like 3 or 4 times, like just pounding me into the ground.
Yeah.
And at that point right there, I'm like, well, I never knew I could take a punch, and I could take a punch.
Yeah.
I ended up breaking my nose and everything else, but I felt.
You took it to you on this fight.
Yeah. It was kind of a draw until that point.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
Sure, ironically, that guy to this day, or he's a good friend of mine. I refer to him for a lot of information. He's actually like really big into bodybuilding. He understands
the guy
nutrition.
You fought.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
He's really good in nutrition. He knows a ton of stuff. He's just a plethora of knowledge. So.
Nice.
Shout out to Bill.
Yeah, all right. Bill,
so
no shit,
he's kind of a beginning of a lot of other things for me. So MMA.
Yeah. Well, let me back up real quick.
Yeah, no
because your backstory, especially in the athletics, I mean, geez, Pete, we're covering, how long do we want this thing to be today? Like 3 or 4 hours? Because we can literally talk to Nick that long.
Well, that's right.
I know.
We'll put it in 4 segments.
You opened up a can of,
4 segments.
A big door for us, I should say. The can of worms was you and your buddy Bill. So listen, I'm picturing you, the runner, the tough mudder guy.
Yep.
I mean, you're not holding a lot of muscle though. I mean, you're just a lean guy. You're a young, lean, mean running machine back then, right?
Actually, I graduated at 185 pounds. I was 5'10" and 185 pounds, and I could cut to 185 and still get there today. Yeah. I mean, I can still carry that. But I was always lean. Yeah. I was always vascular. Yeah. I've always been kind of fortunate. I've always been able to eat as many calories.
You're the guy that the rest of us hate.
Yes, that, absolutely, no doubt. I'm not trying to be that guy. I know that I have that ability, and I'm just fortunate.
Yeah, that's nice to have that in your back pocket for sure, especially when you're training and the weight class is the important thing. You can get above it, not worry about it, and not be affected strength wise like a lot of guys are. So you go into running and Tough Mudders, and you mentioned CrossFit. Let's talk about CrossFit for a minute, because you heard us bag on CrossFit a little bit, and probably not in a fair way, more in a fun way, because CrossFit has gotten, and you're a perfect guy to talk to about this, because I don't want to bag on them in that respect, but we always talk about CrossFit, and we see a lot of people get into it. One of the reasons we think it's got its issues is a lot of people get injured doing CrossFit, it seems. And we kind of saw that going in the CrossFit Games this year, where there was a ton of injuries leading up to the CrossFit Games. And you always hear, I blew my shoulder out doing CrossFit. Or did you see that a lot? And what, looking back on CrossFit now, what were some of the issues that you thought needed to be corrected with CrossFit? Or are there any? Or are we just misconceiving everything?
Really, it comes down to the one main thing to me, and that is coaching and how it was coached. A lot of knowledgeable people out there in like different modalities and stuff like that, but they didn't know how to teach a movement. And people always get ahead of themselves, and a lot of coaches are afraid to stop people because they don't want them to stop coming. Meaning, like, okay, you start out CrossFit, you do scaled workouts. So if it's a 21, 15, 9, you might do 15, 9, 5, right? And lessen your reps. And you might make it, instead of 135, you might do 95. Well, everybody's doing that. These guys are all doing that. And there's other guys that are over here doing the full weight. And then there's girls that are doing the weight, same weight they're doing. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to go heavier. So they jump into the heavier weight. And then they don't have their form down. And
not a coach there to stop that from happening. Just like anything else.
It's powerlifting, any sport that doesn't have good coaching in it, it runs away.
So you would say that we're not here to get on CrossFit too long, but you would say that that's probably one of the bigger issues with CrossFit, and maybe still today, because a lot of people, you see these CrossFit places open up, at least you did for a while, and that was probably the real issue, right? All these different gyms were opening up, and not many of them were as qualified as they needed to be to train all these people. And it sounds like that's what you're
absolutely saying. And people, and it's it's one coach with multiple trainer or multiple people working out, because it's a group class. Yeah. But my gym, the gym that I ran, we were very structured. You had to be able to do this proficiency before you could move on to the next weight. You had to be able to make sure you were hitting depth and your knees were right and everything was moving correctly before you got to go up from scaled to RX plus and things like that. And we had those different levels in order for you to do so.
And the reason I kind of brought up CrossFit, because it's a perfect segue into what we talked about a couple times, was how people kind of learn the techniques, and because it does have a lot of things that cross over to powerlifting. Sorry, the mic here. Got it. It crosses over to powerlifting and strongman, because obviously, clean and pressing, that's not something you just learn kind of do on your own. And a lot of those different movements that CrossFitters do kind of carry over to what now you're proficient at doing.
I split jerk the log. I split jerk the axle. Yeah. I learned my Olympic lifting through CrossFit. Yeah. And people that were very proficient in Olympic lifting. We would bring in coaches that were better at Olympic lifting than they were at maybe coaching another portion of type of CrossFit, whether it was endurance type stuff or whatever, and learn from an Olympic lifter. And that's where I'm at now. I'm still most efficient at my split jerk type presses. I'm a better split jerker than I'm a push presser. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's going to happen, but I go strict press and I do push press, but I go right. I love the split jerk. Yes, definitely. It's always been my go-to. Yeah,
you see that. I mean, geez, Pizza, you hate to. I mean, as a competitor, if you're push pressing and a guy's pretty proficient at split jerk, and that's a guy you're keeping an eye on.
Well, think about Rob Kearney. Rob Kearney. Yeah. I mean, he's usually the lightest guy in the competition. He's usually got one of the biggest log presses in the competition. He's a split jerker. Yeah. I mean, it's just, seen it before. There's a lot, we're going to watch this 105 kilo log world record attempt here in the near future. I'm pretty positive most of the top guys will be split jerking. Yeah. There won't be a whole lot of guys.
Well, you see certainly a lot nowadays. You see a lot more guys actually trying to become proficient at it. Back maybe 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of guys that even tried to go down that road. So we owe that a lot to CrossFit, obviously. Yeah. For a few competitors, and then of course people started catching on. Going, hey, I can't let this guy beat me with the split jerk. I need to figure out how to do this myself. Absolutely. So you go to CrossFit, you and your wife are involved in that, and you start moving this weight, becoming pretty proficient at it, start testing your static strength a little bit. Things just sort of started happening at that point, right? I mean, you started kind of realizing maybe there's something going on with you know, you being able to go into Strongman? What brought you to that door, and how'd you open it?
So we moved to an area where there was no gyms. Basically, there's just a regular style gym, and we lived 20 miles away from it. So I bought some equipment at the house and started lifting at home. I didn't have a CrossFit gym to CrossFit anymore, so I was lifting at home. And kind of how it's been since 2015. I've been lifting at home almost by myself exclusively. Well, I was at work. Guy says my nephew or my brother-in-law, he does Strongman. I'm like, oh, cool. Like what? You know, like he's got stones, he's got an axle, he's got log, he's got this. And I'm like, cool. He works out. I like it. Let me talk to him.
Yeah.
And his name's Ben Sutton, and he is the start of me getting into Strongman. He just happened to be in the area and liked it, and he knew one other guy, and they did it, and went to his house, and ironically, I got into it, and like took off with it, and he ended up getting hurt and kind of stepped back from it, and is kind of moved on in life, and doesn't really lift much now anymore. You know, family man, good guy, but it's just been onwards and upwards from there.
Well, it's funny, so, you know, you start in that strongman training like you did. You found a guy that had a few implements in his garage, and that's kind of the backstory of Strongman, right? That's how it started for so many guys.
Well, circus. Think about the circus stuff. You know,
that's right.
It's all
even go back homemade. 10, 15 years ago or less than that. I mean, there weren't these Strongman gyms around, man. I mean, nowadays you can go into any gym, you're going to see a log. Right. I mean, it seems like it's an apparatus now that's a part of every type of training, and it should be. I mean, let's face it, right? The tire is also a big thing that's been around for a while, and so a lot of us started in that sort of garage setting or that pole barn setting. You're just sort of still there, obviously, with where you're at. Yep. But it kind of makes it fun because you get a little creative then. I've watched some of your videos on the way that you train certain apparatus and put certain things together in your implements. I mean, I'm guessing that's all part of coming from your buddy there back in the day, and you do a lot of fabricating your own stuff, or, you know.
I do some fabricating myself, and I have a friend who is doing comps himself now, and he's a farmer, local guy to me, and he started creating his own pieces of equipment, and we kind of collaborated on a few things. If you'll see my yoke is, I call it the Decepticon, because
you were doing a car deadlift with it, I think I watched the other day.
It is a yoke, a car deadlift. Yeah. I have a wheelbarrow set up for it. I throw my sandbags over it. It's frame, deadlift, farmer's handles. It has a Viking press and a Conan's wheel that can be set up for it too. Nice. You can turn it into a squat rack. You can turn it into anything you want. It's designed to. We make pieces that you can fit to it, and you can add to it or take away from it and make it as plain as you want as a yoke, or you can make it into.
I always thought that was one of the best things about the sport was everybody had their unique twist on how they built implements. And some of the shows you went to, man, it was like all of a sudden you'd see something you never saw before because some guy just created something. It was fun to use. And nowadays everybody's buying it from Rogue or Titan or something, but you still get some of that fun stuff out there, don't you?
I would, you know what, honestly, tie CrossFit back into Strongman again.
Yeah.
Is CrossFit used to go and you didn't know what you're doing. It was the workout of the day. You never knew what you were doing. It was kind of cool, right? No, you just showed up. You didn't have like, oh, they're doing that. I'm not going today. I wish Strongman in some of these events would have, then they used to do it, but get back to it. Everybody's scared of it. They got to know the events like 6 months before they come out so they can train specifically for it. Let's have a freaking mystery event. I would love it. And the problem is people like every promoter I've ever talked to, they're like, people won't come. People won't do it.
Yeah, I think people are afraid of injury, especially with some of the weights being so high as they are. But I think that just goes back to essentially like improper training, right? Like as a strongman, you know the 5 events that you're going to do. You train those 5 events for 6 months, right? It's straight, and then all of a sudden they throw a random event in there that you haven't trained for. The weights are higher, you know, so the risk of injury. But I think if it was just like you said, just random all the time, I mean, it forced you to train, but there's so many variables, isn't there? I mean, like even just in the carry, all of a sudden we're carrying a fire hydrant or an engine block or, you know,
I think that's what Nick's getting at, and I have to agree with Nick on that, because I think the mystery event, as a strongman competitor, I don't know if it really scares you away. I mean, I don't think, but I get what you're saying about the implement and the injury side of things and not knowing if you're training properly. But it seems in strongman it's 3 different types of. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's some sort of deadlift movement, some sort of pressing movement, some sort of loading movement, or hold.
Push, pull, press.
Right. We can narrow it down to one of those 4, a combination of those, right? So.
And absolutely, and like really, you can train strongman out of a regular gym. I mean, Cale Beck from Starting Strongman, he's got a book on it, like how to train. If you're proficient with a barbell and dumbbells and all these, you can go into a competition that's pretty stacked with a decent amount of guys and do fairly well if you're very good at moving general gym equipment well. It's not about like, you don't just get good at the bench press or like a powerlifting where you only got to get good at those 3 things. You got to get good at everything. Like you guys talked about the other day, you got to incline press, you got to overhead press, you know. And I want to add to that too. Like the overhead press, I'm an overhead press guy. I literally overhead press more than I bench press. I just do.
I think people should
with push, but nonetheless, like you can get very good at all the movements that you need to do in strongman and do very well with just a barbell, some free weights, a sandbag, some basic stuff. You can get very, very good at strongman. And there's actually a lot of guys out there, and it goes back to what we were talking about before the show, the Europeans. The Europeans train a lot. A lot of those guys come out of their farms, and they just train at their farms. They don't touch the equipment.
Well, that's it right there. That's the beauty of strongman. Honestly, you don't even need a gym. You just go to your backyard, and most of the implements are there.
Find a stone and find
I mean, that's
a log.
That's kind of where it came from, right? Like Highland Games and all that stuff.
Right.
It was go in the backyard and find something, steal, and pick it up and carry it.
Right. So it really can be not nobody wants to get injured, right? So that I don't want that mentality around it. So I don't want to sell it that way. But you really can become good strongman without having all the strongman implements. And I think too many people nowadays, because of its growth, are getting fixated on having to have. It's a Slater log. I got to get a Slater log, and it's a this car deadlift. And what's the they're messaging
Send me
promoters.
the schematics.
They're messaging
What's
exactly
the frame?
What's the width on the handles? What's the diameter of this? What's the diameter of that? And trust me, I'd love to know all that information too, because I have the ability to fabricate and I have
but
access
only
to all
if
that
you
stuff.
have the ability. The rest of it is nonsense because you're not going out and buying this shit for the competition. You know,
But you would be amazed by how many questions. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna lead that into. I'd like to promote my own show. I'm working on promoting my own show.
Yeah, 100%.
Next summer, we have a local festival, and they've been really receptive, and they want me to do a show. So I'm like, I want to run my first comp up there during Maritime Festival on the beach. So I'm looking forward to doing some sand kind of some old school World's Strongest Man stuff, and have that kind of like nuance, odd, something people can't really perfectly train for. And add to it to make it a little tougher. I don't want anybody getting hurt. I'm not going to put it at a point where anybody's going to get hurt. I know I'm not going to do log presses in the sand. You know what I mean? I'm not going to.
Although
right,
it would be interesting. I totally agree with you. I think that the unknown factor is a cool aspect of strongman, and I'd like to see that brought back. And certainly bringing back some of those old school events and just anything, right? An engine block apparatus or an anvil. We talk about anvils tough to pick up, right? You never pick up an anvil. Try to pick up an anvil. It's 150 pounds, but it feels like 400. Right. But okay, so you're CrossFitting. You learn the proficiency of these static movements. You get better at them. You're kind of moving towards strongman. You meet your buddy. You start training with this guy, and he's got these strongman implements. Nick, you walk into your first show. What was it? Where was it at? How'd you do?
Motor City's Strongest Man, 2017. And it's always in the spring, March, April. I was right around 198 pounds, so I'm gonna go and do a 198-pound open class. I was doing Smolov.
Yeah.
You guys are familiar with Smolov.
I do the Smolov squat program.
I was in Smolov squat program, and like the first test phase, I was in like the first test your max phase portion of it. So I was 20 weeks long or something? I was in like week 12 or something. There's like a test your max area there. Man, I'm moving some weight that I've never moved before. I'm getting stronger, I'm feeling good. I'm like, I wonder if I could do this. Ben's like, you should try it. I'm like, well, if I come over to your house this week, can you like set up basically the events, and I'll see if I can hit them.
Where did you find out about the event? At this point, were you following like any particular strongman? Or?
So my friend Ben, he had done a few comps. He had done Michigan Strongest Man. He had done Motor City before. So and Aaron West at the time was his coach, his trainer. He was paying Aaron West for programming. If you guys know Aaron.
I know Aaron.
The Noise of the North. I mean, dude's got the greatest voice for announcing ever. I mean, it's crazy.
Listen, I started with Aaron. Just real quick, I started training with Aaron in Fenton.
Okay.
And when it all started with Bob Abfalter had his own shit in the back of that gym, and Aaron and I did my first contest with Aaron. I think it was Aaron's first contest too, and him and Justin. And anyhow, shout out to Aaron West. I tried to find him on Instagram. I knew I could get a hold of him if I called you or somebody else, but I'm gonna surprise him when I get up to the Great Lakes. I haven't seen him in a few years, but we used to have some fun together. Go down the Arnold and see these guys when it first started, Savickas and these guys. And I actually did
mustseestrongman.com back then, and a lot of guys don't remember it. It's before the social media thing, and I called up the Arnold Classic and I said, hey, can we get in and do we're mustseestrongman.com. You got to let us in there and get in the back room to hang out with these athletes and stuff. We had no business being there. I mean, we were smaller mustseestrongman.com than we are this damn podcast. We had no business being there.
Really?
No, not at all. But they said, yeah, sure, we'll give you press passes. So I called Aaron up. I said, hey, you want to go down to the Arnold with me? He's like, I don't know. I said, his wife's like, you better go. So we went down to the Arnold, got a hotel room, and we walked in the Arnold, got press passes, and we were allowed in the green room back behind the Arnold Strongest Man shed. We met Zadrunas Savickas. I said, Aaron, how do you want to do this? You want to film or you want to interview? And he says, no, I'll interview. So he's interviewing Zadrunas Savickas and all these other guys back there. So all I'm saying is I gave him his shot. That's why he's such a good man. See, that story was leading somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So, but we had a lot of fun back then. Anyhow, that just was a flash from the past. I love Aaron. Cool. You're right to talk about him because he was a great he's a great announcer. He was a great strongman. Is he still competing, by the way?
Not that I know of. I know there was some America's Strongest Man stuff coming up. I don't know. He's been out in California quite a bit for work, and I'm not sure. That's why he's kind of been off the.
I know he's fighting injuries. A lot of injuries came his way for a while, but he's a warrior.
I don't think he's trained. Well, actually, funny story about Aaron. We were at a competition last year. The same guy that makes the implements that I told you he fabbed the piece for me there. He holds a competition called the Thumb Throwdown, and it's kind of like at a farm.
Yeah, I was there. I went there.
Okay, Brian.
That's Brian's the strongman court, but Matt Little is the guy that owns the farm. It's the Farms, right? It's his all of his equipment, all of his stuff. Yeah. Well, the year prior, Aaron was there, and Aaron just signed up and did it random because his daughter was competing and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, in like exhibition, we're like, let's load up the car deadlift and see what we can do. So Aaron and I getting a deadlift off on the car deadlift, and we both topped out at the same weight. It was kind of cool. Like I felt pretty cool.
That's pretty. Yeah,
I'm like Aaron.
Cool.
I just tied with Aaron West. We were at like we were just under 900 pounds when we went to the next jump, and we jumped way too high, and we both couldn't hit it. But he was doing it like mid-contest. I was a judge, and I was like, that's actually some of those pictures are from.
Hey, listen, you're in great company when you can say you did something Aaron West did. Listen, the guy's a legend. He's a legend. He really is. He's one of those guys that started in the start of this sport. I say that in a way like it was always been around, right? Since '77, strongman's been a sport in the United States. But he was one of I would say the founding fathers of the lightweight division, right? Jared Spybrook, remember Jared Spybrook? Willie Wessels, of course, was a lightweight pro as well. But anyhow, Aaron West, man. So we'll have to do some catching up. So you're at the Motor City. It's your first competition.
First competition, 198.
Yes.
Open, not novice. Open.
Yeah. Just jump right in.
Yeah, because like I said, I'll back up a little bit. I was at my friend's house. I'm like, can I do these weights? So he loads them up. And I start pulling weights, and I'm like, I think I can hit them all. I might get 1-0 if the ones, I don't even remember. There was an axle, there was a 13-inch deadlift, an axle, a sandbag carry. There was something else. It was Warren Mott, I think it was at Warren Mott School. So it was on like the wood floor, so you got to be careful with the floors and all that stuff. And went there, and I was competing against Jimmy Mitchell. And Jimmy is a world-class 90-kilo athlete. I got to compete against Jimmy at nationals this year.
Where's Jimmy from? Do you know?
Oh, he's a Michigan guy.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
He's the coach for, is it Warren School for football? He's like one of the head coaches. Okay. I think he's going out of state here for a little bit due to his job, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out this year. But
familiar. I probably know.
Jimmy I'm pretty positive the second highest finishing American of all time in this competition that I'm going to in Finland that we'll talk about. Yeah. Jimmy is a solid athlete. He was beating me at nationals this year, and I had a good finish. I finished strong, and he had a bad event. And honestly, Jimmy could have just as well been in the spot that I was in as I was in the spot.
Yeah, any given Saturday, right? I mean, it comes down to that sometimes.
He's a solid athlete, but 2017, Jimmy is he's gone overseas. He's competed.
He's the guy. And he's
really
good.
He's competing at Motor City. And then Mike Chisholm, who is from Traverse City Bulky Boys, part of George's crew. Yeah. He's there. There's only 3 of us, right? I know that I take that back. There was 4 of us. Yeah. I finished 3rd. So I got my little sword. I got my little katana up on the wall. It's still up there today. And that was
right into a hornet's nest there, didn't you?
Oh, man.
Talk about great competition.
I did. But it was still cool. Funny quick story about that, Aaron West. I'm running the sandbag. No experience running a sandbag whatsoever, right? I pick it up long, tall way, and I'm carrying it down. I'm running down the floor. And Aaron West goes, oh, there goes his hamstrings, and I'm like running, and I hear this guy. I don't know this guy from Adam.
He would know.
And I'm like, what is he talking about? And I swear, within 3 steps, it felt like I was walking downstairs. Boop, 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 and I dropped the bag, and I was done. And I'm like, how did he know that?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know anything about anything, and it was
funny?
he saw it coming before I even knew what happened to me. And it was kind of funny.
I think that's a perfect lead into, like, if you're an aspiring young strongman out there, don't let your ego get the best of you. Find some guys like Nick and Aaron did, you know, and the guys that Nick trained behind, because you certainly go a long way faster before you get into a situation where you haven't trained an implement or don't have good advice to train an implement, and all of a sudden you're finding yourself going honestly, in that position, right? Like, holy shit, how'd this guy know? He's been doing it long enough. He could have told you.
Absolutely. And really, just for anybody that want or interested in getting into it, if you want to reach out to me, feel free. But really, just start. Start. And you don't have to be the strongest guy out there. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. The strongman community, I've powerlifted. I've done bodybuilding type stuff. I've done all the between CrossFit and all the obstacle course races I've done. The community of strongman is like no other. They are the most easygoing, level-headed, humble people. You'll get your occasional asshole. You know, it happens wherever you go.
Territory, sure.
But I'm deadlifting against a guy and I'm gonna beat him, and my strap breaks. He runs me over his strap to keep going.
That's right.
I mean, like, that's the kind of strong. Like, they will do that kind of stuff. That's the community there. If you need food, you need drinks, if you forgot something, if they can find a house for you to stay in, they'll board you up in their house. It's crazy.
That strongman, that nature is built behind the fact that guys that compete, of course, we're all in a brotherhood, right? Just strength athletes in general. We can appreciate the effort that powerlifters the same, and hey, bodybuilders do, right? They're strong. You can appreciate what goes into that, especially you, with all the different sports you've been with. You can appreciate the effort. Strongman in particular, I think if you're going to want to beat a guy, you want to beat him at his best. You know, and you don't want anything to go wrong with that guy, because if you want to get to that top of the mountain, you want to see a guy and go, okay, I beat him, and at the end, you're shaking hands, and that's a fucking moment right there, I bet.
Absolutely.
Because after the Motor City event, 17, because your rise to kind of where you're at now, and I say rise, and it's well-deserved. I mean, your reputation precedes you, bro, which I love about you, because you're a humble guy, and it was easy to get with you and talk to you about this stuff. But in literally 4 years now, and we'll get to the whole invite thing in a minute, because I think that's really the icing on the cake at the moment. I think you would agree to some level. Well, 2021 Nationals. We won't jump that far yet, but when you did the Motor City, I mean, as you started getting better in the sport, what were some couple of the shows that you did between where you are now, that you kind of noticed some things happening and you thought, wow, I'm really getting good at this strongman stuff?
So I did Motor City again the following year, and I did better.
Yeah.
I got better.
So 2018, Motor City. Yeah.
And then I went in 2018 as a 198 to Michigan Strongest Man and did that competition. And I won, and I was pretty happy. Now, Dave Pankow, who is a phenomenal, I'm going to say he's probably the best 90-kilo guy in Michigan at this point until we compete again against each other. So hopefully I can I can beat him and prove that.
Looking forward to it, I bet. Yeah.
But and I'm sure he is too. He's a great guy, the most humble, awesome guy you will ever meet. Dave is a phenomenal dude. Anyhow, he was going to the overseas competition, so he wasn't competing there. So I was competing against every other 198 guy, and I ended up winning in the last event. And that was like, okay, I can actually do this. Like, I'm getting good at this. I can do better at this. Like, I haven't even touched anything yet. I don't even know what I'm doing yet, and I'm doing well against
in the
good
last
people.
event. A little bit of drama attached to it. That's always fun, right?
Oh, it was absolutely. Yeah. I was a half a point in the lead going into the last event.
That's pressure, baby.
And it was because we were leading. Him and I went last against each other. It was a stone carry and load.
Love it.
3 stones, carry and load over a yoke. I picked the first stone up. I walk 3 steps and drop it.
Oh shit.
He's already dunked it. I grabbed the stone, and I don't know. I have no clue what I was doing at that point. I just went and I just grabbed the stone. I slammed that one. I picked the next stone up and I slammed that one. And he had already had the 3rd stone picked up, and I went up. And I one motioned it all the way up over and slammed it down. And I swear it was like 0.3 of a second I beat him by. And you could tell, you could see the video. I legitimately beat him by it. And I had won. That was because the half point would have been different. So it would have been, it wouldn't have mattered. So I won Michigan Strongest Man that year.
That's a great way to do it, isn't it?
And it was awesome. Yeah, it was a great guy. JJ was the guy I was going against. He has JJ Thomas from. Yep. He does a lot of powerlifting through Strength Depot and stuff like that. So.
Familiar with the name, yeah. That's a great win. I think when it comes down to it, you got to love that, right?
unlike powerlifting when, you do. Everything condenses at the end. You know, you got your last 3 lifters.
Yeah, we have the ability
Which
to
is
change
cool.
our deadlift.
Yeah, which is cool.
Stuff.
I think there's nothing like that head-to-head. Obviously, we're not going to see that in other sports. Well, generally not in other sports, but that's a unique thing to strongman, right? And you get down to that last 2 guys, and you know, sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't, but it kind of always does because you don't want to shit the bed and take 3rd or 4th.
Right.
I mean, you can literally lose
Yeah.
lose a contest with what we talked about it in one event.
Yeah.
So that was your first big win, let's call it, right there. Yep. Chop that up. That was in 2018. And that was the Great Lakes Strongest Man.
That was Michigan's Strongest Man.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm wrong with that. It was 2017. That was the same year I started. Same year I started. And then I did Motor City the following year. And then in 2018 is when I did Michigan's Strongest Man, and it was an OSG qualifier, and that's Official Strongman Games.
Yep.
It was a qualifier for that. Official Strongman Games is the road to the world's strongest man. It is the world's strongest weight class athlete. So whether it's
it's the top of the food chain.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, everybody comes from everywhere to do it. It is usually held in the United States, but it was a qualifier for that. Everything else was online. This was the only actual qualifier. So the guys that were showing up were like, "Hey, that guy's from on Facebook, or that guy's from online." You know, I don't know who these guys are. These big names start showing up, and I'm like, "Oh, cool! This is the real deal." They're driving from all over. The Michigan Strongest Man was like Michigan athletes, like the best guys coming together. Right. Maybe an Ohio guy or two or something.
Sure.
But you know, like, okay, if I'm gonna make it, I talked to Aaron, and Aaron's like, "You need to go to 176, which is 80 kilos." Like, okay, so here I am. I'm making my first big cut now to 80 kilos.
Yeah.
So I cut to 80 kilos. Funny, there we get to weigh-ins. Everybody is 2 pounds heavy. Aaron's scale, it's right on his front porch at his house, and we're all weighing in there. Craig Lottie, who is a phenomenal guy, he has a sauna that's portable. He has it sitting right out in front of the house. We all get there, even Dave Panko, who's always underweight.
You're all jumping in the sauna.
Everybody's in the sauna trying to cut weight. I already know how to cut weight. Everybody's panicking. They're just, I see everybody just drained. And it affected them majorly on game day.
Yeah, because you're not changing that. I mean, at that point, you're trying to stay within the rules, right? I mean, so everybody had to make weight.
Right. So we all, and we all show up, and everybody's 2 pounds. So it's like, obviously his scale is different than everybody else's, give or take a pound or whatever. Yeah. So we all get in, we're all in the sauna, we're all there. I'm at the point right now where I don't care. We're on a road. There's people everywhere, kids everywhere. I'm standing buck naked on.
There should be a picture of that somewhere, right? Somebody had to laugh about that and say, "Look at this shit."
Well, the joke is everybody knows me all the way down to my butthole because I was standing right on top, right at the front porch, buck naked, right on his. I didn't care. I'm making weight and going from there, So, and then we go to Frankenmuth to compete, and I ended up finishing 2nd place, which qualified me for my first official Strongman Games.
Okay.
That November. So this is August 1st, and it was in November. Was official Strongman Games. Yeah. So Quentin Zambone beat me. Quentin Zambone is a world-renowned 80 kilo athlete. He's in his 40s now, and he's still probably a top 10, top 15 guy in the world as far as 80 kilos. He's just a super strong, really cool, easygoing guy. Got 2nd to him. Then I went to official Strongman Games from there, and that was kind of like, all right, I'm too new to this. I shouldn't. This is not. I'm like, I'm not. What's going on here? I didn't realize it until I really got there. And like I said, it was. We talked about before. There's 26 guys in my class, and the vast majority, 2/3 of them are not from this country. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is like the real deal. Yeah, and I think I finished like 22nd out of like 20.
What a great experience, guys. Though, right?
I had some really good stuff, and I screwed up an event which hurt me pretty bad. Yeah. OSG is a 3-day event. They do a couple events on day 1, day 2. Right. Top 10 qualify for day 3. Yeah. So I was done after day 2 and
spectated and enjoyed yourself and being a part of the event.
You want to hear something funny? I made weight. It was like 1 o'clock on Thursday or something. We had to make weight at whatever because the competition wasn't going to start until 24 hours later. I struggled to make weight a little bit. Had to weigh in, didn't make it, went back, got in the sauna some more, made it back, made weight like 3 o'clock on Thursday. On Monday night when I got home, that was 175.6, right? I was 221 pounds on Monday night.
And what
45-pound weight swing from Thursday to Monday. 45 pounds.
Does that? And everybody gets to 22nd place.
No. Everybody. So what has happened from that is everybody realized I know how to cut weight. Like I know how to fluctuate weight. So now I get a lot of guys calling me. because they know, like all my buddies that are lightweights now, they say, well, you just stay where you're at. I'm like, don't forget, I can cut to 176 still if I needed to. I remind them that I can do it because I know how to do it and do it safely.
Well, it's interesting because I always listen, when you get as muscular and as athletic as a lot of you guys do in the lighter weight classes, you're not playing around with a lot of room there. I mean, guys can easily spill over, and you don't like to hear, especially strongmen cutting weight that don't know how to do it.
Absolutely.
And because A, well, who knows, right? But B, they're not going to be very competitive if they they can shit the bed pretty easily.
Absolutely.
But that's where you kind of see it, those in that 76, 90 class, right around in there. You see these guys playing with a little too much weight. It's easy, like you said. I might, you might get stronger, but as lean as you are, getting stronger requires you to almost stay leaner because you're pushing the envelope right now.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick because we're talking about bringing new guys onto the sport, and we're talking about this working for everybody, the gym life, right?
Yeah.
So anybody that's getting into strongman, when you do your first event, don't cut weight. Whatever your weight class 100%. You're in, go for it. Go have fun. Learn. Take it in. If you zero, you zero. Who the heck cares? Nobody is there to judge you. Nobody cares. I promise. It's not that kind of situation. Go have fun and learn. Figure out where you need to be. There is no reason to cut weight unless you're at a very high profile.
Yeah, not everybody does. I mean, it's just some people, and you're one of those people are able to do that.
And with that being said, hire somebody, talk to somebody, know somebody that knows what they're doing. I have a boxing background. I've cut weight. There's a lot of guys who wrestlers that know how to cut weight. There's people that know how to do it and be safe. Now, I'm good at it to the point of I've always been stronger on game day. I've made all my weight cuts and always PR'd on game day, regardless of what I've done. So there's an art to it, not only in cutting weight and cutting weight properly and sitting at that cut for the least amount of time possible, but also recomposition and afterwards and what you do to get your weight back up. Like I was 175 for Michigan Strongest in 2018. When I woke up in the morning at 9 o'clock, I was 200 pounds again.
Yeah.
And
funny you say that because when I saw you at Motor City last year, I'm like, there's no way this guy's fucking weight. I don't know how much weight you did that there as well, but you were easily 20 pounds heavier than weight class. I mean, it's a good thing.
No, I did 220 weight class.
Oh, did you?
There,
okay.
I did 220 weight class, and I was like, I weighed in at like 216.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
I thought you were in the lighter weight class then. I thought, man, you were looking big.
No, I just went 220.
Yeah.
It was I'm training for other things. That was nationals. That was getting close to nationals.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm like, I'm not going to weight cut before nationals. Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. I was kind of a fun. I was starting to feel really good. Training was going really well. That Thursday before that competition, I hit my best deadlift to date. Yeah. And then I competed on Saturday. I went and weighed in whatever I weighed in on weigh-in day.
Just very little rest, get in there, get it done.
Yeah, and I competed well. I wasn't going there to win. Like I didn't.
But
I
you
win.
did win if I.
No, I think I ended up getting second. Josh Swisher, phenomenal athlete.
Yeah. Well,
Swisher is.
A while. Guy knows what he's doing.
Josh Swisher is. You take a look at him, and this is nothing against you, Josh, dude. You are one of the awesomest dudes I know, but he doesn't look like he's going to be as strong as he is.
I was thinking the same thing.
He
Josh
does not look as strong as he is, and everybody will say that. I don't know if they'll say that to his face, and now I'm putting it out there, but Josh, he will come and he will surprise the hell out of you every time. Even though you know he's stronger than you, it still surprises you because you're like, I look aesthetically.
I'm ready this time.
I look aesthetically like I'm going to beat somebody, right? And then Josh Swisher comes in, just almost average looking guy.
Yeah.
And he's just so strong, and he's so proficient, and he's so efficient, and he's so smart and intelligent, and he's just so calm and humble about it.
Gotta watch
That's
out
another side of the sport.
Guys.
Yeah, it was another side of the sport, right? I mean, you got these guys that are just mechanics when it comes to doing these events. I always tell these young strongmen and these guys getting in the sport, you don't have to be great at every event. You just got to be proficient.
Absolutely.
You get a guy taking second and third in every event, chances are he's going to win the show.
Absolutely.
If it's a competitive show, or even win the top 5 anyhow in a bigger show.
If you look at World's Strongest Man, take it to the top level, every year for, I think, since Brian Shaw's been in it, because he's kind of the one that started the whole, like, play the points and being Mr. Strategic.
Yeah.
Novikov's done it. All the guys, they might get a first or two off on the whole weekend, but they're averaging up towards the top. Where you get a bunch of guys that'll get you know, a bunch of firsts, and then they'll have like a bunch of eights, you know, and it's like, that doesn't work out at the end of the day. It doesn't.
And they know exactly what their events are, and they'll say it. They'll tell you, like, I'm going to go win the deadlift.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm going to win. That's the one I need to win, and I'm going to finish right in the top 5 of every other one.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to be really good at one event, that's for sure. I mean, that one's in the bag. Yeah. You know? And I always felt good going to the competition knowing that. So you're getting set up, and you're well, we can move probably right to your national win, right? Because we're moving through. What was 2019, 2020 like? I know COVID fucked things up pretty good.
So a couple of good things happened for me.
Okay.
I continued to compete through 2019 because that was good. 2020 was COVID year. I wanted to build my strength. OSG still did their online qualifier, but they knew it was going to be, well, they were planning on having the show.
Yep.
Once they didn't have the show, they said anybody who qualifies will qualify for 2021. What year is this? 2021. So I got it out of the way last year. So I set all my sights on, I'm going to qualify, do whatever I need to do to qualify for OSG in 2020 for 2021.
And that was all video, right? Wasn't it?
Yep. And they still do that. That was how it was. They took 10 more guys from this year for the same show.
How do you feel about that? I'm just curious. How do you feel about that video qualification stuff?
You'll talk to some promoters and some organization runners. They don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I did an online strongman competition in January this year. It was out of Canada. It was awesome. They did a really good job. They ran it great. I mean, if you're gonna cheat it, you gotta have. I mean, like, first of all, you gotta have who has fake weights, really, like, actually has fake weights. Like, how can you cheat it?
And why would you? I mean,
and everything's got to be on camera, and there's a clock on camera, and there's a scale, and it's all got to stay on there. It's like you can't edit it out and start going from clip to clip to clip, because obviously, you know, you could change it. When it's all on one video, I was doing them out of my garage. My wife's videoing. I told Lynn Morehouse runs OSG and runs that system, how they do the online qualifier. And I'm like, hey, Lynn, just a heads up. I apologize. I'm doing this by myself. My wife's videoing, keeping everything in there. And as soon as I'm done lifting, I'm ripping everything off. I got to weigh in. Now I got to sit and get my stuff. And I had everything set up on a scale where I could jack it up on my rig. So I got to come along, and I get straps all hooked up, and I get a scale, and I click, and I jack it up, and we show on the camera what the weight is, and you can see the weights all on it. It's all right there. Now, other people, they have the choice of, like, unloading it, putting all the weight on the scale.
Yeah.
Okay, now unload this side, put all the weight on the scale. Okay, now put the log or whatever on the scale and add it all together, but it's all got to stay in the camera. And a lot of those guys are doing it in gyms where they got their 3 or 4 buddies are all helping them simultaneously, where I was doing it by myself. So he got some long
fish scale.
I got long videos, but I did enough to qualify for OSG in 2021.
Yep.
In 2020, which my plan for that was, I'm going to open myself up because there's not going to be any competitions this year. I'll send it right here, and in 2021, I can really set my sights on bigger things.
Yeah.
And not be stuck trying to qualify for this one while I'm training for this big thing, and stuck qualifying for this thing, for this next big thing, and I can focus more.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well.
Because they held now nationals got moved by, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because I've said it time and time again. Last year's national champ, because they held 21 really the first of the year. I mean, it was what was it in February or March?
USS Nationals?
Yeah.
No, it was June.
Was it June?
June 5th. In Minnesota. It was supposed to be in 2020. It got canceled.
That's okay. So they
just moved it a year in advance or a year ahead, and they were able to have it, and they still had hundreds of competitors that were there.
Yeah. A pretty big show still.
Yeah. Still a pretty big show.
And going into that show, what were you thinking?
So I was coming off some big wins as far as like hitting my big deadlift, and things were moving really well. I was feeling really good, and I thought I was going to be very proficient in the press medley, which was a axle log back and forth. And I have a problem. I'm known for coming out flat on my first event, so I'm trying to work actively how to figure that out. Well, what threw me off is I primed myself a lot better, and I was good, but I didn't know, and this really threw me for a loop. I use a pit bull log, which is a true 12-inch log.
Yeah.
I've used it in comparison to a Slater. It transitions over fine. They had a Titan log there. The Titan log is like 13 1/4 inches.
Yeah.
We got one downstairs. Yeah.
It's actually 13. It's actually 13. Well,
my wife hates this 12-inch log.
I had already set in my head that I'm going to viper the log. It's a
Yeah.
weight I can viper it. I'm just going to one motion that thing all the way up and go right to the axle. The axle I'm proficient at. Boom, I'll just knock these out. I grabbed a hold of that time, and it was like, it just went straight away from me. I'm like, okay, this is not what I thought it was, and it kind of beat me up mentally. I ended up hitting 4, and I should have had at least 6 reps. So I started out rough on the day.
You
which
were
I was
making
frustrated.
up some ground then right away.
Right away. And I knew I needed to cushion my farmers. My grip strength is my weakness.
Yeah.
It's coming along great. It's been getting better day by day, but it's still not as strong as it needs to be. So I'm consistently.
Well, it's interesting. Every time I hear a proficient strongman, a guy of your caliber, say my grip strength is it's not that good. It's ridiculous to even hear that, because I'll tell you right now, this guy's grip strength probably crush a full beer can why it's not open. I remember I met Jared Spybrook. He was the first guy that I ever met in strong. He's a lightweight strongman. If you don't know who Jared is out there, he's one of the first lightweight pro strongmen, and he was really. You give Jared all the accolades for the state of Michigan, because he really was the guy. Yeah. I think you know Jared, right?
Yeah. I know of him. I don't know him.
Listen, he started it all. Him and Willie Wessels competed together, and he was the guy in Michigan. If you wanted to train strongman, you would, you didn't know, right? Nowadays, you can get online, you can get on Instagram and stuff, and it's easy to find strongman clubs around or guys training. And again, like you said, everybody's really open to having new guys come in. And back in the day, you didn't really have that resource, so you didn't know who was there. But I remember, anyhow, long story short, I met Jared for the first time. I walked up to him in his driveway. I said, hey, my name's Joe, and I'm thinking I'm this big 320-pound. I'm going to fucking tear these guys up today. I'm going to show them who the hell I am. And Jared's a 230, he was a lightweight back then, about 230 pounds. And he went out and shook my hand, and he grabbed my hand, and I was like, oh, shit. I felt like he could have broke every fucking bone in my hand. So anyhow, the grip story, your grip, I'm sure, Nick, is great. But yeah, one of your own ideas is to get your
one of the things I got to work on, and that's gonna, especially because of Finland, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But that's a very grip, or a lot of grip used in that competition. But nationals, I just kind of at that point I just kind of knew where I was at and knew what I had to do, and I knew the deadlift event was kind of like if somebody was gonna beat me, I was gonna like lose it at that point, and I went out and pulled 12 reps at 605 on the deadlift. Wow. And I was up for a 13th, and I was actually upset with myself because I had set in my mind that I was going to pull 15 reps. So I wasn't happy. I'm a very, I don't suggest anybody be like this. I'm a very, if I'm not first, you're last kind of guy. Like, I'm very competitive with myself. I'm never happy. Like, I'm never satisfied. And it's not, I'm just kind of guy I am. It's nothing, I'm very humble about it, but I just don't like.
You have high expectations.
I have very, because I know I still haven't hit my potential yet. I'm 37 going on 38, and I still know I have more in there. I still know I'm capable of more. So I did good I won the deadlift.
And what was the deadlift apparatus at the time?
It was a deadlift bar.
Bar, okay.
Yep, deadlift bar. No suits allowed.
Standard height, no axle, or no wagon wheel.
Straight from the floor. Yeah. Yep.
What was the weight?
605.
605. And
605.
12 reps.
12 reps.
Okay.
And then we had a medley, a keg carry medley, and I did well at that. I think I finished second.
Do you feel like that medley stuff is really your forte? I mean, you're an athletic guy. All the background that you have kind of leads me to believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say this, and I'm being very honest for all my competitors, who want the competitive edge on me.
Yeah.
I focused a lot on static strength, and I definitely kind of regressed a little bit in my medley moving ability in comparison to what it was capable of.
Kind of comes with the territory, right?
So I try
to stay. Coming out of CrossFit and having super stamina.
Right. And my stamina's good, and it's just like I got to be faster. And, a side story, I have a 10-year-old son, and he's extremely competitive. He's my protege. We have like the same emotions. We act the same way about everything. He's fast, incredibly fast.
That's fun, isn't it?
And I told him, and I let him know all the time. I said, my goal in life is to stay faster than you for as long as I can. So for him, for athleticism and keeping running and just moving, and we play football. I coach his football. We can talk about that stuff too if you'd like.
Yeah, for sure.
He kind of pushes me, and I push him a little bit. So we kind of work off each other. I know he's only 10, but you'd be surprised.
Listen,
I'll put this 10-year-old up against any adult any day.
I lost $100 to a 14-year-old nephew of mine once because I'm pretty quick myself. I'm just athletic and always been fast. And he said something about wanting to race me, and I was like, dude, you don't got a chance. And so we went I have it on video too. We went and I kind of like jogged for the first 50 feet and I went, oh shit. And like I turned it on as much as I could and he ended up beating me. I lost $100 to a 14-year-old. There's some fast kids out there.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And I'm getting older, you know. I'm
Sadly,
38,
right?
so.
Well, the nice thing about it, speaking of that, right, 37, 38, I mean, both you guys are athletic, and I'm a bit older than both of you, but, you know, the sport doesn't cut you off anymore. I mean, there's just, your training, and before we get on to the bigger stuff, I mean, your training is pretty specified. And I asked this question to you because it's an enigma for some people in Strongman, or who train Strongman or want to get into Strongman. How does your programming work? Because a lot of guys burn out on the implements. I mean, the Strongman comes down to 4 movements, or 3 movements, really. And they tend to burn themselves out because, you know, I'm doing sled pulls today. Tomorrow I'm doing deadlifts. Well, how does that work?
Yeah.
You know, so you have to get really intricate in your programming. How does that work for you? Tell me about your programming.
Okay, so I programmed by myself for a while, and then I ended up hiring a coach, Tyler Young from Grade 8 Performance. Kentucky guy, you were talking about Kentucky guys the other day.
Yeah.
Super strong power lifter too. Guy's incredible strength. Look him up, check him out.
I will.
He started programming for me, and he knows how I am. I'm a different kind of animal when it comes to being coached. All the guys on his programming, we have like a group chat, you know, like they're always like, oh my gosh, he's killing me. And Tyler's always holding me back, holding me back. Because of the endurance space. But I am very, very consistent, and I can tell anybody and everybody if some of my biggest keys to training and programming. And I coach myself. I'm starting my own coaching programming stuff too, and I have a couple of great clients. I'm really excited about, like World's Strongest Man quality.
Oh,
type
really?
athlete.
That's exciting. Yeah.
6'6", 330, 25. Played college football. Like, he's an athlete and knows how to move. Yeah,
that's cool.
a stud. Anyhow, I'm very big at building a base. You'll see if you read any of my posts, build the base. The wider the base, the taller the peak. Consistency is key. Recover harder than you train. Those are like my main focal points. I spend a lot of time doing stuff that is not the log, is not a yoke, is not any of the implements to build my weaknesses, because my biggest thing, and I kind of call it my claim to fame, I'm the only one that says that, nobody knows that about me, is I've been doing high-level sports for a long time. I'm not young anymore by any means, and I haven't been injured. I don't have any serious injuries. Knock on wood. I don't want any, especially 2 weeks before I go to Finland.
No, right.
Yeah.
So that's really it's a testament to your training, because to be a strongman, to be as successful as you've been in the last 5 years, and not have to find yourself recovering from injuries, a unique thing, because a lot of guys get injured in the sport. So your programming is obviously very tailored towards you. It sounds like it's a specific to you talk about recovery. We talked about that before as well. I mean, you're big on recovery.
Huge.
And how does that work? So give me a program for a week. Let's talk your off seasons to start. Like, what is your training program, generally speaking?
In the off season, it'll be usually a 4-day a week program, as far as my lifting programs go, and I'll be typically working on my weakness, on what I'm trying to, whatever.
Not a ton of implement stuff.
It will be almost zero implement base.
Okay.
I won't touch much. I mean, I might log press, I might like a Swiss bar, I might use an axle for like close grip floor presses or something like that, but not I might do some farmer stuff, just because farmers shouldn't be, strongmen are not the only people that should be doing farmers. I don't care if you're a bodybuilder, I don't care who you are, you should be doing farmers, because I don't do a shrug one and I have decent sized traps and my back's pretty strong.
One of my favorite picks is your farmer's pick, man. It's an anatomy chart, really.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that is added in there. Yeah. But so for me, I wake up pretty much every day at 5 o'clock. I do something every morning, whether it's riding the bike or a
static state kind of cardio.
Just steady state, like a fasted steady state cardio stuff to get to move. It's always, I feel good. I feel like energized from it. Or I do some sort of stretching, mobility work, something. I'll do a yoga routine. I'll do something more. Like right now I'm doing more biking. Like every other day I'll bike and do mobility. Where like in the off season I won't do as much biking because I'm not worried about my weight. I'll do more mobility stuff, and I want to keep my body as mobile, as supple as possible all the time.
Maintenance. Yes. Constantly doing stuff.
And the more supple you are, the more blood that can flow through your body, the more it can repair itself from the muscle damage that you're trying to put it through from all the workouts that you're doing to it.
Yeah, because they're pretty. I mean, these workouts we're talking about with Strongman, in particular, even your workouts when you're not working on implements. I mean, your central nervous system is just, I mean, you have to build that, right? I mean, you're keeping, that's always in the back of your mind, that recovery aspect of it. You see a lot of guys that just sort of want to keep training to think more is better, but it's not necessarily the case.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, there's a lot to that. I recently did some programming this spring to lead me to my deadlift PR, and I was only deadlifting 1.5 weeks, and I was 1.5 weeks off of deadlifting.
Yeah.
I was doing other workouts that were based around the deadlift to build the deadlift, but it wasn't deadlifting at all. Like, I didn't have a bar in my hand at all. I wasn't, you know, I might have been squatting. I might have been doing split, what do you want to call them? Romanian or Bulgarian split squats. Bulgarian split squats, so, you know, so no spinal loading, just really working my leg drive and a lot of stuff like that. Just a lot of weird, different movements than people are used to seeing on a regular basis, especially for a strongman. But it pays off. Again, wider the base, the taller the peak, because you want to be well-rounded. It goes back to what we talked about earlier about you don't have to have all the implements to be good at it. You can get strong by building the base. There's a lot of movements out there that are good movements. There's a lot of stupid movements out there too, but good movements out there that you can do to build your weaknesses. And just like in powerlifting, just like in any other sport, you can build those weaknesses without actually using the implement.
Yeah, I talk about it a lot too on like my Instagram and stuff. Obviously, I powerlift, but just changing programming up for multiple reasons. One, it's good for the body. Two, it's good for the mind. It gets you out of, like, you know, I think sometimes we get stuck in having a barbell in our hand, and you know, for me, I could literally squat, bench, deadlift every single week, you know, and I'd be okay. And maybe sometimes in the short term, by me not doing that all the time, it might kind of slow me down a little bit, as opposed to people who squat, bench, deadlift all the time. But in the long term,
absolutely,
I'm going to be a much longer term athlete. My strength is going to, again, my peak is going to be higher because my base is wider. And I think the next big thing that you touched on, that I tell all my athletes that I train and everybody I possibly can to do yoga. I don't care what you think about it or how you see it. Like that started in high school football for me. Our high school football coach made us do yoga, and we were all like, "Come on, bro, high school yoga." Man, I'm telling you, that is the best recovery, man.
Do some hot vinyasa.
Yeah, there you go.
You want to talk about? You want to mess up?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
You want to mess up some strongman or any like strength athlete? You take them to some hot vinyasa, and they'll hate their lives. And there'll be some really pretty yoga instructor there doing like all this crazy stuff, and it's like 105 degrees in there, and they're barely even breaking a sweat, and moves like you're like, there's no way I could do that.
What's so you're maintenancing with yoga a little bit, but it sounds like you probably got other maintenancing though. So let me hear it.
So yeah, so you guys honestly, like, listening to your last podcast, number 4, there's like, we could touch on every single thing that you guys talked about and how it's implemented into my training. Meditation.
Yeah.
I meditate regularly. I was into it really well last year, and I kind of got away from it, and I'm like, man, I'm really lacking something. What is it? What is it? And I didn't realize how clairvoyant I became and how like focused I was able to be, and just mindset change. And so again, I was like, okay, I was getting to a point here recently. I was struggling. I was kind of like not finding balance. I'm like, nothing's like overly fun for me. What am I doing? Okay, I'm gonna start meditating again, because I need to reconnect and refigure out where it's at. And I'll tell you what, just even after doing it for the last couple of weeks, the clairvoyancy has gotten so much better, and I just realize you see things, you kind of sit and you breathe and you think about stuff, and it really does change people. I don't care. Yeah. You know, go yoga. People that say it's kind of the same mindset to the bros. You know, like, there's no way I'm doing meditation. That's dumb.
Well, I think some people, especially with like meditation, have this belief that it has to be this big ordeal. I gotta have a meditation mat and light incense and play some Buddhist, rub the fucking bowl and shit. And meditation is just simply getting away, clearing your mind, breathing, focusing on your breath, right? So if you're focusing on your breathing, you can't focus on anything else. I mean, that's really meditation down to its nuts and bolts, right? And that's all it is. It's just getting away from that for a minute, just getting away from light, the sound, the lights, the noises that we are inundated with constantly. And doing that, just it unlocks some things in you. There's no real explanation for it. Like, I can't tell you what it's going to do for you until you go out and do it. Right?
And it's subtle, right? Because you won't. You're like, it's not like I'm not getting instant results, but like, a few weeks later, you're like, well, I'm remembering things that I didn't remember. Like, I have a terrible memory, right? And even my wife's like, how are you remembering all this? You never remember anything. And I'm like, I got to be the meditation. It's the only thing that I mean, it's what I'm doing. It's what I'm doing different, you know. And I was, your perspective changes even. Like you see things, and if you guys can't figure this out, I'm a talker. You know, like I kind of can tend to run away with my.
We actually call that a good interview.
Well, and I don't, but it helps me to like say it's okay to listen to. You know, like I don't. It's easy for me to talk about me, and a lot of my friends know that about me, and it's something I don't mean to, in like a non-humble way. It's just something I'm excited about, you know. I get stuck in that.
You and I are very similar. We like to share.
Yeah. And
you said it, not me.
And you know, but it kind of reminds you when you meditate, like, okay, it's cool to listen to. You can gain just as much from it. You can be just as excited about it.
I love hearing that of an athlete of your caliber, and you know, and saying that way. It's just validation, really, because I believe in that. Robbie does as well. We believe in that. So it's a macho thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at us guys right now. We're talking about yoga and meditation. I mean, what the fuck's going on here?
I thought I joined the gym.
Yeah, but you're so right, man, because it really is. And we talked about that yesterday in the podcast a couple days ago, because it really makes you a complete athlete. Your performance level, you just said it.
Yeah.
You perform better. You do yoga, you're doing meditation. What other type of holistic things we would call holistic, right? Or that are a normal part of our maintenance routine now that you find yourself doing?
So if I ever did it again, I'd be a chiropractor or some sort of kinesiologist. I love the way the body moves. I'm fascinated with kinesiology, crazy. And I always, if I have any sort of range of motion is not here, what do I need to do? What's causing that? Okay, it hurts here, but that's not what's causing it. Something over here. It's my lat that's tight. That's the reason why my trap's loading up or whatever. And I just start digging and I start finding.
So a lot of massage, a lot of chiropractic work.
So I go to the chiropractor regularly. I have a recovery guy that I go to in Saginaw, who's phenomenal. If you guys ever need to get a chance, go up to Mayo. He's right next to Coop's gym.
Drop his name. What is it?
Tim Sala at Mayo. He is probably, I mean, as far as I know in Michigan, probably one of the few guys that understands the sport. He's a very strong guy himself. He knows what body movement. He knows what we're asking of the body.
Like that, right?
Yep.
I mean,
he's got localized cryotherapy. He's got a sonic machine, like it looks like a ultrasound machine, and it has this like sonic wavelength that clicks in you, and it'll hit that nerve that hurts, or you get patellar tendonitis or something. It'll hit that, and it'll be like, "Ooh, yeah, that's it," and he'll just hold it there. And what it does is it wakes up, because when we injure ourselves, it tends to go dormant and it's like stop moving. Well, it wakes it up so that it tells the brain, okay, you need to liven this back up. Let's go again. Scraping and cupping and stuff like that. Whether people think it works for them or not, I'll tell you, I'm very, very specific on how my body moves. Like, I need to have full range of motion at all times. I check myself regularly, down to like putting my socks on in the morning. I should be able to stand on one foot and easily put my sock on my other foot. If I can't do that, what's out of balance? What's causing that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it comes down to you being, I mean, we say it over and over again with you because it's true. You're at the top of your sport. You're doing things that require you to be connected to your body more than a lot of guys. I shouldn't say more, right? But connected to your body. Any athlete, every athlete, whether you're an amateur, pro, or other, needs to keep these things in mind. It sounds like you got great insurance too, by the way. Cryotherapy.
No. That one I don't know. I paid for that. He'll do like a package deal. Okay. I get an hour. I bought like 5 visits, for whatever price he was running a special or something.
I'm just thinking, what's this guy doing? No wonder he's such a.
I mean, I do have HSA that I can use my HSA for and stuff like that. Nutrition,
that's the next step,
is huge.
Yeah,
obviously, the most overlooked things, everybody overlooks them all the time. I know everybody knows about nutrition, but they overlook so many simplistic things about it. It's ridiculous. And then sleep, sleep is huge, and how you prioritize it and what it means to you in your recovery and rebuilding. And it's the most basic holistic things there are, right? I mean, all that other stuff's add-ons. You don't have to do those.
That's right.
But you have to sleep and you have to eat. And that should be the basic things that people do their best. I don't care how hard you train, you better sleep harder. You better eat better. You better do it if you want maximized performance out of your body.
I need my wife to know that. It means I get to nap more.
Yes, naps.
That's how I know I've aged, because naps, you guys are weird. Naps are so stupid. Now I'm like, I took like 3 naps today. I didn't sleep. I'm like, wow, I'm trying to nap at breaks now and stuff like that. Well, and I knew I was going to be later tonight, and I'm an early to bed kind of guy. Or early to bed, early to rise makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. So it's It's kind of my mentality. So
I love it. Yeah, I couldn't. I was just thinking to myself, following up our episode 4, we probably could have had a better guest on. As we hit
no, you got. There's other things like you touched on a ton of things, and it was so cool to hear. It was like I'm almost gonna feel like I'm repeating.
No, but
in a way, what I'm doing is I'm tying it into like real life application, right?
Let's be honest. It's good to hear from an actual athlete. He's washed up, and I'm
that's true. It is true.
It's good to hear somebody.
I know.
I didn't say that.
I'm making a comeback, man.
Yeah, come on. Get your hip replaced.
I know, definitely, right? Which I blame on Strongman. I don't. I blame it on not moving. Actually, I had a sales job for about 4 years. Right, I do. I blame it on not moving. I had a sales job for 4 years, and I drove like 10 hours a day. And shit just got bad.
I can do all this stuff, and everybody said when you're turning this age, and when you do this, and you're gonna hurt like this. I went to the chiropractor. I had a back, an issue. I know I'm so in tune with myself, though. I'm so weird about it. I'm like, I know something's not right. Yeah. Can you do an X-ray? And she did it, and she sees I got a vertebrae that's slightly twisted, and she corrects it. She couldn't feel it where it was at. She corrected it. I knew it was there, and knew it wasn't right.
That's one of those moments you're like, man, thank God I'm like I am, because that could have just turned into like that could have been a career buster, right?
And so with the X-ray, I'm like, what's everything else look like? L4 and L5 are perfect. Yeah. L4 and L5 and every freaking strongman, everybody is blowing out, right? Every person. Yeah. And what exacerbates that is sedentary lifestyle or sedentary jobs, desk jobs, sitting in cars and doing stuff like that. Yeah. I drove to Minnesota terrible idea. Don't do it. Fly. It's just too cheap to fly. Yeah. It's so much easier. My wife's car, we're just going to save gas, whatever. We're going to drive. Cool. I didn't even make it we went through the UP. Oh, yeah. I didn't make it to Grayling, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm already toast. My back was already, and I'm not even there yet. So I spent the first couple of days, we hiked for like 5 miles after I made weight through the trails because I got to get my back back, and I know what I need to do. I know how to get it there because I know what needs to be. And I didn't even start competing, so nobody can blame me for competing. I'd already had a week off from deload, right? Yeah. So I needed to move. I got it back. As soon as I started doing events, it would go out because it was out from prior, and I'd have Dr. Scott McDougal was there. If you know Scott, he's like, they call him the Strongman doc. Yeah. He's done Eddie and Thor and Brian. He's adjusted them all, and I got straightened out, and I got through the competition. But my point was just sitting in a car did that to me. It wasn't driving. It wasn't doing anything like that.
Well, I guess being
sedentary or sitting is one of the worst things you can do. The best thing, and this is add to the holistic side of things, and you hear Stan Efferding talk about it, Mark Smelly Bell talk about it, all these guys talk about it. Walk every day. Do 10 to 30 minutes of walking. You will not believe the recovery that just a simple walk with your family, with your dog, with your girlfriend, with yourself, and kind of get that mind straight. Yeah. It is a game changer. I promise you.
I just think to myself that there's a lot of guys out there who train strongman or powerlifting or bodybuilding, whatever lifting sport you're a part of, that have these sales jobs, that have these desk jobs. I mean, it's as important, if not more, for guys like that to start moving.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have a job that allows you to kind of move around all day, which is great, right? That drive killed you. A perfect example. It's just, anyhow, you're just reinforcing the fact that if you're in a position like that, you have to really make the time to get your body right.
My wife's a CPA. She, it's essentially a desk job. She's got a standing desk. We're actually talking about getting a desk treadmill, so she can walk while she works and stuff like that, because she knows and she understands and she has to drive to Saginaw to work a couple days a week, and even just sitting in the car for that long, how much it loads her up. And when you're an athlete, it's exacerbated that much more, because when you sit in that position, it tightens everything up. And and what people don't realize, like, they think all this stuff's happening. Your psoas and your QL are all tying you up, and you're sitting and you're closing that up, and it's already tight from training, and all you're doing is tightening it up more. So then your glutes, everybody's got this like weird glute thing that they can't get their glutes activated.
It's an epidemic, right?
It's an epidemic because of this, a lot of seated jobs and people not knowing how to activate it and how to loosen and let the psoas go, and stuff like that to me is like just.
Yeah, I mean, you
fun. I have fun. I get all excited about it. Everybody's like, dude, you're weird.
Right, big health nerd here, right?
No, but it's good.
Yeah, no, it's true. Go ahead, Robert.
No, it's just movement, right? Blood flow. That's all it is, right? Get blood back. Our bodies, like we talked about with our brain, our bodies are designed to protect themselves, and we're going to shut down what's hurt and injured. And fitness injures, essentially, on a micro level, our muscles. And our bodies are going to shut those down to protect it. And the only way to reactivate those things and really prevent injury is to get it moving again.
Yeah.
Take a 5-mile hike in Minnesota, right? Let's get back to what I know how to do. Yeah.
And that kind of goes into some weird nuances, like everybody ices. I don't believe like that's the right thing to do necessarily, because inflammation is meant for blood flow, right? Now inflammation is bad to a point, but inflammation is the healing process that your body starts taking over and says, I need to heal that area. What you micro tear your muscles when you train, right? There's inflammation there. You can't live on freaking Motrin. I mean, all these strongman and powerlifters and all these guys, they go through Motrin. You know how many Motrin I take a year? I bet you maybe 6. I take 2 at a time, maybe 10. And I'd have to have a really pounding headache or just be super uncomfortable, and I take 2 200s. Right. And it will take away anything that I've ever had.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm lucky, maybe I'm more fortunate, but maybe I spend more time with my body and understand that too.
You're just a perfect example of a guy who's competing at a high level that understands that there's so many different facets to getting yourself in a position where you can perform at a high level, but just live at a high level. I mean, because it all comes down to that. I want to get back on to some of the competition stuff, because we've got some other stuff to talk about. That's all good stuff. I can talk about that for hours, honestly. So we're moving through your strongman career up to kind of I don't want to say a pinnacle, right? Because you're still going. You got a lot of years ahead of you. But this is a pretty special year. I mean, you won nationals, which is a big win for you. It validates what you're all about, and I'm sure it validated in your mind too that nationals. Once you won it, you're like, okay, I belong where I'm at now, and I get it. It's got to be humble, but at the same time, yeah, okay, I validated myself as a 90 kg, top of the food chain. There's other guys out there gunning for me. I know it now, but I'm honestly that guy now too.
Well, I got to tell you, I really had my mind set on the whole middleweight weight class, meaning the 198 guys and the 220 guys. Yeah. I wanted it all. Okay. I really wanted that belt. Nice. Not because I'm a big belt guy. I'm not like a wrestler guy, whatever, that's fine. But I wanted that belt. Yeah. And I knew I had what it takes. And I knew as soon as that first event we talked about, I kind of came out a little flatter than I wanted to. I steadily picked up pace, and I won out of the stones, 198 and 220, only 4 guys in both classes loaded all the stones. Yeah. I didn't go for speed. I just needed to load them to win.
Sure. Yeah.
But so essentially I won second place in all of the middleweight class. One guy in 220 beat me. Yeah. So I finished out of both weight classes second. I won first in 90 kilo.
Sure, I love that. So
it was like, again, it goes back to my like win-lose thing. You know, I won, and I'm excited at the opportunity for Finland and such, but man, I wanted that belt, and is enough ever enough, you know? And that's my competitive side, and I don't want anybody else to have to think that way, that you have to be that way. But
no, but listen, you're going to take guys that are of your caliber, take guys that compete at your level, and I guarantee you, and you know them personally, you compete against them. They're not far from the same cut, man.
Yeah. Ben Eisenmonger was the guy that was one, and I'll tell you what, if you ever want to look up a dude who's well-rounded, and we come a lot from the same strand, and that he kettlebell like guru. I mean, he will literally not touch implements. He can literally train for a competition with kettlebells.
What's his name?
Ben Eisenmonger. He's a plethora of knowledge. He's a younger guy. He's basically, he told me after he won this, he was like, I'm probably going to back away from the sport a little bit. I'm going to still stay in it. He trains, he competes, he's going to coach people and stuff like that. But he's got some family endeavors he wants to take care of and build his business and stuff like that. And then guy is just so cool and so humble. And I could have sat there like we are today and just sat there and picked his brain for hours. He's just that kind of guy. You wanted to sit there and talk to him, learn. And I think he was only like 31. And I'm like, man, you're like talking to an old man. You have so much wisdom, and he's so smart and understands.
That's awesome.
The different type of training. And so it was cool to hear somebody that has a similar style to what I do, you know, and not having to be stuck in like fixed on implements and fixed on all this stuff. Yeah, because
even some of these successful guys kind of still, that's kind of their path. And I guess we'll see where it all plays out in the end, right? I mean, you're a perfect example of a guy I expect entirely, if you choose to be there or not, 10 years from now, we could still have the same conversation. You could still do strongman because you're putting your body through you're putting your body on the right path to get there 10 years from now if you wanted to.
And that part of that, and we were talking about before, that's the name of the game. We all have families, we all have jobs, we all have things we got to do, because strongman and powerlifting, unless you're really freaking awesome, like the top level of the world, you're not making any money at it.
1% of the 1%.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So in order to do this hobby that costs us money, essentially, and enjoy it, we have to still go back to work, and we still got to take care of our families, and we got to pay for our bills and all that stuff. So the importance of that recovery, and you know, we talked about that, but like that is what anybody getting into the sport or anything, that's where the focus needs to be. Wider the base, the taller the peak.
Well, so let's hit on that real quick, because I think we got a lot of love that we need to give your wife, right?
Yep.
Because I can tell that you're a busy guy, and you guys have 4 kids.
Yep.
And you're a coach, and you work full time, and your wife works full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes that support group's pretty important to where you're going, because you're going to Finland. We're going to get to that in a minute. But the idea is that it makes it a lot easier to enjoy what you're doing when you know you got that support behind you.
Absolutely. I have a great support team behind me, including my extended family, my dad and my wife's parents and stuff like that, as far as like watching my kids while we do stuff or whatever, because she competes as well, or she trains as well.
About that for a minute. Did you get her into Strongman?
She did Strongman. She did a comp because I was doing a comp.
Yeah.
My wife, and we recently talked about this, so I don't want to call her out too much on it, but she wants something of her own too. You know, she doesn't want to do it in my shadow and all that stuff, and I can appreciate that, because I would probably be the same way. Like, if you're doing that, I'm going to do something different just to be different, because that's kind of how I am too. And we're very similar in that. We're both extremely competitive people. We're both very stubborn and very like mindset oriented. You know, that woman just went through all of tax season, went through all of her CPA exams, passed them all on the first try through tax season with 4 kids and all this Corona stuff that's going on, and it's like unheard of. Like, nobody does that. You don't take on both workloads at the same time and have that done. She's a very intelligent, strong, driven woman. I mean, like no other. I mean, the work ethic that woman has is incredible, regardless of what it's applied to.
Yeah. I think it goes without saying. Right, you got a great wife. I got a great wife.
Bro, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have shit.
No.
I'm gonna be real. Like, the gym downstairs wouldn't exist. Like,
that's kind of where it all starts. And I think it's just important to say that and have you say what you said, because that's all about your gym life too, right? I mean,
absolutely.
That's where you need that support at home. And it's a shout out to your wife. I wanted to hear that, because I know you're a busy man, and there's a lot more going on than just you training strongmen in your life.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot going on. So you win nationals. 2021, which back in June, you got your invite to. This is the big one now. Now we know you're competing up at Great Lakes. You said you're going to go into a different class and have some fun with this, and I don't even need to do that, but just supporting George for sure, because it's a nice big event, and everybody loves to watch you. At the end, I'm sure the shirt's coming off.
It'll be off. It'll probably be off before it starts.
Bro, I'm pretty sure it's
Actually, right now I want to take my shirt off.
I've been saying that for like months now.
I'm surprised it's still on right now.
Obviously,
it's like 110 degrees in here, by the way. So
people that can't see it.
Yeah,
like his abs are sweating right now. It's 150 degrees in here, and
we can't afford air
as long as we possibly fucking can.
So you're you're going up there, going to have some fun. But let's talk about this invite now, because this is big, and we talked about this briefly before the show started. That the idea now that Strongman community, we've got a lot of different organizations. I want to hit on that for a second, because you and you were catching me up a little bit, because it's really broadened out there with OSG, and you got Strongman Corp, and you've got United States Strongman, and albeit they're all competing entities to some degree, because there's different paths to get to different places.
Yep.
The Strongmen are pretty loyal to just the Strongman community. I don't think there's any favorites being played, but there are some different opportunities out there. Explain that, because I know the Arnold was something that you did as well.
It's something I want to do.
Oh, you want to do?
Yep.
So the path to that, and how did you get your invite? And then you got your invite online to this thing you're doing in Finland, right?
No.
Okay, so explain that to me.
So Finland is SCL, which is Strongman Champions League.
Okay,
Strongman Champions League is a huge organization in Europe. They have their own TV channel. It will be televised. It will be everything. If you go on like Pluto TV, they have it on there or something like that.
That's important to know.
It'll have a live stream. It's huge over there. The Europeans, like, they get full-on sponsors. I mean, when I talk about sponsors, like monstrous $1 million companies sponsor these strongman events.
Crazy.
They sell, if you watch any of the Giants live when it's not COVID time or whatever, they're selling out 50,000 people stadiums for strongman events. I mean, like, it's incredible the amount of people that come to it. They come to it like a true sporting event. In America, it's not like that yet, but we're obviously making headway exponentially, and especially in these last couple of years. I kind of got into it right at the right time, because I was able to kind of rise up as it's been rising up, and it's kind of nice to see kind of rise up with these strong guys that are already there, and I'm kind of trying to catch up to them and play up that with those kind of guys.
So when is when is that Strongman Champion League? What do you say? What month that is? That's November 6th.
Nope. So Strongman Champions League is September 11th and 12th.
Okay.
So I'm only this week I'll have 3 days of training. I got 8 days of training left, and then I'll be traveling essentially that next week to go to Finland, so long as I can get over there through the COVID regulations that they have.
Yeah, you mentioned that could be a hiccup. I understand, and did I get my information right on this, that there's 6 or 7 American guys going over?
Oh, there are, but they're across. There's 2 90-kilo guys, and then there's a handful of 105 guys.
Oh, gotcha. Different classes.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's both at the same competition.
Who's the other 90 guy going?
Tyler Davis, he finished second to me at nationals.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, I want you to hear this, Tyler. I know you're coming for me. I know he is, and it's not because we only met there. It's the first time I ever met the guy. The dude is a specimen. He's an athlete. He's a very good presser, and I know that. Like I'm waiting for him. Like it's like I want to beat those guys, but I want to beat him again too. And I know he's good. I know he's coming. We've already kind of joked about it and stuff like that. But Tyler Davis is going to be a heck of a guy to watch too. He's had said before he wants to be one of the top 90-kilo guys on the planet.
It sounds like he's on that path too. I mean, let's face it, you guys are going overseas to represent the United States, and this is cool, right? I mean, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I mean, honest to God, I keep getting in my head going, wow, man, to be where Nick's at and to be able to represent like this. I mean, because really you're representing the strongman nation over here, bro. I mean, you're representing us all.
It's funny because like if we talked about the organizations, like OSG is a world's strongest caliber show as well. It's in the United States, but I'm an American in the United States, so Americans don't see it as special as special as going to Finland and competing as an American and representing the United States. It's really on the same basis. It's just one's international for me and one's not.
Yeah.
So to me, they're both on the same level. You can be at the top of the sport in multiple organizations, and we talked about that. So like USS leads to SCL, which is Strongman Champions League, which is what you see all the guys that like everybody that's been in Europe, all the world's strongest men that have been here, they've all competed at SCL. Novikov and all those guys, even the Americans, Kevin Ferris, he's been over there. Travis Ortmeyer's over there all the time. Those guys are over there competing in that league all the time. It's huge.
Yeah, and it is. And I saw some of the footage in Puerto Rico recently that Travis Ortmeyer, and it's probably cool.
I think he won that one.
He did, which was great. I love Travis, Texas Stoneman here, right? What a great nickname. Anyhow, it amazed me, right? Because the crowds, like you said, even in Puerto Rico were huge for that. So SCL, right, go in that direction. And what about the other one? So
like if you were to go through Strongman Corporation and you were to go through that, you would go to the Arnold. The Arnold Classic would be like a top level show where you have international athletes come in and compete. The weight classes are a little bit different than what the USS classes are. They change just ever so slightly. It's just like powerlifting federations. They have different weight regulation or different weight classes. Never could figure it out. I wish it was just kind of standardized a little bit, but I like to have the ability, but and some of them have such big spreads, and that's where I was like, they need to have, for a guy, I'm not going to like weight flux 60 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like I'm 215.
Sport though, right? I mean, you're talking about once more guys get involved, they're able to put bigger groups together in certain divisions. I get that. I mean, I do.
I'm 212 today. Say if I walk around at 215, I can cut to 198. I can't cut to 176 reasonably well. I can, but
otherwise you're competing at
most people can't.
Right? I mean,
or I'm competing at 231, but the 231 guys are coming down from 250 or 255 to compete at 231. So it's like you're really a different weight class caliber athlete that you're really competing against.
Because it's always like a day before weigh-in and stuff. So I get a lot of
24-hour stuff.
We talked about that. Yeah. So
and then,
now you got Strongman Corp. Real quick, as halfway to the Arnold, and then of course we got United States Strongman, which is the third.
USS to SCL.
SCL. Okay.
Strongman Corp to the Arnold.
Yep.
And then the other one is OSG, Official Strongman Games, which is kind of its own entity that's owned by like Colin Bryce and Darren Sadler and
that's
those
an
guys.
Invite only type thing, right? I mean, there's no pathway to that.
That's an invite only, but it is the path if you were a bigger guy to World's Strongest Man. Sure. That's how you go to Giants Live, and if you win Giants Live, So cool thing, I was in 2018 when I went as an 80 kilo, Evan Singleton won his class. So Evan Single went to Giants Live and won Giants Live, and now Evan Singleton is I'm World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect idea because everybody sees Evan
It's
right
a
now, Evan
feeder for
T-Rex.
everybody.
Yeah, so there's tiers of how to get to the top of the game, and for us weight class athletes, that's what we have to do to get to our World's Strongest Man, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
I love the opportunities nowadays. I think it's
Absolutely.
great that you have all these different organizations leading to all these different paths. Every organization feeds off one another a bit to get these guys. The guys aren't necessarily loyal to one operation anymore, and now they're more loyal to the sport than they are. You know, it used to be pretty political. You know, back in the day, maybe before you competed. Guys weren't getting invites because they just weren't liked or they had a problem with the promoter.
Well, like Bill Kazmaier, think about that and how that all went down with how, you know,
example,
you know, and we take it to the top. You know, Bill Kazmaier would have probably been had more more wins than anybody had he been able to stay in the sport until they changed the whole rulings for him.
Yeah, so. Really there's a lot of guys that fit in that category. He's a big name that does. Yeah. Love Bill Kazmaier, by the way.
I do. Yeah, he's cool.
Man, who doesn't love Kaz? Honestly, God. Yeah. I mean, where's this guy? I'm sure you've seen him recently, but you stand next to the guy today, and he's still a big dude.
Yeah, he is. I've been to the Arnold and watched him, commentate the shows there, and it's cool to see him still be around him and stuff like that.
I love that he's supported so well in the strongman community, because he really is that guy, right?
He's like the Eddie Cohn of powerlifting. You know what I mean? Like he just really, he's a plethora of knowledge. He's very smart. He's a good talker. He's a good voice. He's a good voice for the sport. And everything like that. He's just
gentle giant, man. Yeah. Gentle giant. I had the pleasure one time of having a couple bourbons with him in California.
Oh, cool.
Just ran it. I was out there for the America's Strongest Man in California several years back, and we all stayed in the same hotel. And this is back in the day when Derek Poundstone was a big name, and Tom McClure. Tom's still out there, I think, maybe competing somewhere.
So is Derek.
Is he? Yeah. I was going to ask you that because I talked to Derek in the past and had some conversations with him, and just the name I haven't got to because there's so much going on, but. What is he up to?
He does a lot of coaching. He coaches a lot of strongman. He does a lot of that stuff. He still puts a lot of videos, informational stuff out there and stuff like that.
When he came on the scene, it was like our version of Pujanowski.
Yeah.
Crazy,
yeah. He was just he had the aesthetics to go with everything.
Yeah. So anyhow, they did the segues into what we were talking about, like split jerking, right? We were out in Del Mar, California for the America's Strongest Man at the time. And Tom McClure at the time, I don't think Derek was competing in it. I think he'd won it previously and he was doing other things with World's Strongest Man, but Tom McClure was kind of the picked favorite at that point. He was a really version of Derek, right? A different guy like him, more muscular. This guy comes in. You ever remember the name Jason Crystal?
I do not.
I don't think anybody will ever remember this guy's name. This guy comes in to the America's Strongest Man, and I'll probably get fact-checked on a lot of this shit, but this is the way I remember it. He comes in. He's one of these sort of powerlifting Olympic-type body styles.
Yeah.
Not a real... He just looks like a big 300-pound guy. And he wins the show, but he's split jerking this 400-pound fucking log. Nobody expected it, and that's how he won the event.
He probably was an Olympic lifter.
He was an Olympic lifter. That's my point. He's an Olympic lifter.
Yeah.
And he just cleaned house, man. And everybody's going, nobody wanted him to win, I guarantee you. They wanted Tom McClure to win because he represented that big image at the time. Anyhow, what a funny event. But I met Bill there.
On that same note, Mike Congdon, awesome strongman. You got anybody to follow Mike the Slice? He's just a cool guy to follow. I met him. I've known about him, but I met him at nationals. He's kind of a friend of all of my coach and all that group of guys. He was supposed to go to Finland, but he got an opportunity to do America's Strongest Man, which is kind of at the same time for the 105 guys. But he just did a competition with a shot putter. This guy's like an Olympic level shot putter, and he said this guy came out to the strongman competition and he just destroyed everybody. He was just this big monster, and he's like got like a 900-pound freaking deadlift or some crazy stuff. He's got all these numbers, and they're like, nobody knows anything about the guy, but he will literally just, if he went to any super heavyweight event, any amateur show, he just destroy everybody and he doesn't even do strongman. Like he just.
I love that. We were talking about that in powerlifting the other day. There's just guys that are just out there.
It's just like you said, just strong, and that kind of goes back to Finland, right? And me competing against these Europeans,
a lot of unknowns.
And there's these guys.
Here.
We're Americans, we're so fixated on training with the implements and knowing the implements so well, and there'll be guys that'll come compete at this competition that have not seen this stuff or touched it, or maybe they use it once or twice a year, and they'll come and they'll just be incredibly strong. They're powerful people. They generally know how to be strong all around.
Yeah, it's right. It's that sleeper, right? That one guy that comes into the show.
Well, and they're all I don't know any of them. Like, I don't know any. I'm literally going in blind. This is honestly my first time traveling international other than Canada, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, this is like a whole experience. My wife was supposed to go. We were going to vacation afterwards. Had this whole deal set up. She can't get in now because of all the corona. I can go on special interest group, and blah blah blah. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. So it'll be an interesting learning process along with the competition.
I've seen you compete. I know what type of intensity you bring to any strongman competition. You're there for a reason because you're a badass in the sport, and we know this. I can't wait. I mean, this is just another one of those Christmas days.
It's the switch we talked about, right?
Well, I was going to add to that. This, it's weird. I fought MMA for a while, and my dad would always say, "Flip the switch." He would yell that.
Yeah.
And I'm not a switch guy though. Like, it's weirdly to say. I go in with the same. I lift without music. I lift by myself, and there's no music playing at all when I lift. I'm just a weird guy. I just kind of go in and I put my work in.
For over an hour now. I already know you don't have a switch. That thing is on all the time.
Maybe that could be.
It's on. Somebody just broke it off the wall.
I'm still driving me nuts that you challenged me and we haven't done it yet. I'm like, what's going on?
Stop it, you guys. No. Fuck no. Robbie won't be able to even do this for 2 weeks. I'm saving his life right now and putting it in. Oh shit! Yeah, you got to switch, bro. It's just on all the time.
No,
I think, but hey, listen, man.
My wife did tell me that she was going to give me like a Xanax or something before I came because I'm a little excited.
We might have to do this in 2 parts.
Well, yeah, we're at an hour and a half.
No, I dig it, man, and I can only hope that the rest of the interviews we get are as lively as because this is what people want to hear, man. It's one thing to talk about training, but people and these young guys and these guys coming up in these sports identify with athletes because they have something in common with them. And I think there's a lot of young guys out there, particularly, and we're always trying to push the sport, whether it's powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, whatever it is.
Fitness,
to relate to somebody, it really helps. And there's guys out there like you that probably have the background of those fun runs that you did in CrossFit and MMA and that kind of thing, wondering if they're even capable of doing what you're doing, and you're a perfect example of getting the job done. I think this is probably a good place to end it because I know we got some follow-ups we like to do with all of our, as you heard with Shannon's interview, if you watch that, and I talked about it. One thing we're really big on here is coming back because we want to, whether it's a quick Zoom call or not, because we want to get your breakdown of your overseas trip and how you did out there.
I think I'll run into you up at
we'll
probably run into you up at Great Lakes.
We've got some fun going up there, so we're gonna we got our favorites, of course, and you're always gonna be one of them. So we'll have some fun up there. I can't wait to meet Sean up there, and I know you're friends with Sean and Aaron and those guys, and man, is that going to be a lot of fun up there.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting up there? I know you're expecting to do well because you always do well, but is this event just going to be everything we think it's going to be up there?
Oh yeah, George. We should talk about that just for a second. I know we don't want to get too long, but George is a great guy. He goes over and above and out of his way for the competitor, for the spectator, for everybody, for his volunteers. He takes care of everything to a T. I've been to several different competitions, and I've been to some very good ones. George just goes over and above on every level.
Seems like it.
He does very well, and it's not like he doesn't do it in a way like he doesn't need to. He just takes good care of people because he knows what he wants out of it. He has an idea of a product that he wants at the end, and he knows how to make it happen.
Well, I think the word is out because his competitor list is sickening.
Yeah,
it's going to be crazy, and I can't wait to see how he pulls it off. I'm glad we're a part of it. George says he's going to put us in a dugout, which is cool. We're going to be some interviewing in the dugout, and we've got some fun stuff we're going to do out on the field too. Our guys are getting in between events, and hopefully enough of them will talk to us and put together a good show. But I just want to say thank you very much for coming out, bro. I mean, honestly, God, I'm having so much fun with this, and you're another example of why I want to continue to do this for as long as possible. So thanks on behalf of the Gym Life Podcast and everybody out there. I hope you enjoyed this interview. More to come with Nick, not only at the Great Lakes, but after his trip to Europe, and he's going to tell us how that went in the future, of course, because this guy ain't going nowhere. And if you had some fun listening to him on the interview, go watch him compete sometime. You won't be disappointed. So thank you very much. Got anything to say?
No, thank you guys. Thanks for having me, man. And the gym life is everything. You know, you can really become healthy and strong because of it. So
yeah, and again, perfect example. So thank you very much. We'll see you next interview, next episode.